Hello my darlings. Today on our channel I am going to show you how to create this fire and ice candelabra with some help from the Dollar Tree and Amazon.com. Stay tuned. For this project, you will need some greening pins, acrylic garlands, any type of your choice. You will need a loaf of dry foam, as well as this 4x3 cube foam. You will need some flowers, any color, any type of your choice. You will also need 2 of these LED flameless candles. You will need some water gel beads. You will need 2 of these 2-foot acrylic rods. And you will also need 2 bowls. This laser cut plastic bowl from the Dollar Tree, as well as this ribbed acrylic bowl from the Dollar Tree. Of course, you will need your handy dandy tools. Let's get crafting. So the first thing you are going to do is you are going to glue your 2 bowls together. Now I already have mine glued together because I'm recycling this from another project, but all it was putting a foundation of E6000 glue down and a foundation of hot glue, putting those 2 bowls together, pressing them down, applying pressure to engage that glue, and setting them to dry for about 20 minutes. Now what we're going to do is we are going to place our 4x3 inch cube foam on the bottom of that bowl. And what that foam is going to do or end up being is it is going to become the foundation for our acrylic rods. So I'm just gonna place the foam down inside the bowl, leave it to dry so that foam can dry around that hot glue, and then I'll be back to tell you what our next step is. So now that our styrofoam has dried into that bowl, what we're going to do now is we're going to make our placement for our acrylic rods. And to do that, we're simply going to apply some pressure and push that rod on down into that styrofoam, being careful not to be too forceful because we do not want to break our plastic bowls. Once we have made the hole that we need, we're going to put some hot glue into the hole, apply some hot glue as well around that acrylic rod, and seal that hole to ensure that that acrylic rod is going to stand straight up. Of course, we're going to set it to dry for a few minutes, and while we're waiting for that one to dry, I'm going to continue the process with my second rod, and then I'll be back to tell you what our next step is. Now that our 2 rods have been dried into place, we are going to place our dry styrofoam brick on top of those 2 rods. And this is going to give us the foundation that we need, of course, to create our floral arrangement. And again, all you see I'm doing here is I'm applying a little bit of pressure on that foam to ensure that I'm not breaking my bowls underneath, but I am making the space for which those rods are going to fit into. Once I have made those indentations, I am simply going to place some hot glue into those holes, and then I'm going to apply some pressure to ensure that my foam is sitting square and straight, and then I'm going to set it aside to dry for a few minutes. So now that our brick foam or foam of brick has dried, what we're going to do now is we are going to run our crystal garlands. And to do this, my darlings, it is quite simple. All we're going to do is place the end of those O-rings, or rather the end of my greening pin, through the O-ring, and I am going to stick it up into my foam. Of course, this part is optional. Please feel free to use as much crystal garland as you like, or as little bit as you like. This part is completely up to you. What I would suggest, or rather, as you can see, I am placing all of mine on the flat bottom of that styrofoam loaf, but feel free to also place some on the sides so that you will be able to create some additional depth in your project. Now, the reason why we are placing these acrylic garlands first rather than later is so that they will not, or rather the flowers will not be in the way if we were to do this the other way, by placing our flowers first and then placing our garlands. And so once we have placed our garlands, it would then be an easier transition to place our flowers and create our floral arrangement. So now that we're finished with our acrylic garlands, what we're going to do now is we are going to create our floral arrangements. And as you can see, I am leaving about 1 inch of my floral stem sticking out of that foam. What this is going to do, this is going to give us a bigger base, or rather more space to work with on that foam and make or allow our floral arrangement to look bigger than it actually is. So all I'm doing here is placing my hydrangea heads as the foundation or the focal points of my floral arrangement, east, west, north, and south, and then I will continue to create my floral arrangements by filling in my other flowers. So now that we have created our floral arrangements for everything except the top, what we're going to do now is we are going to place our candles on top of our foam. And to do this, I went in beforehand because, as you can see, this centerpiece is towering a lot higher than I am. But what I went in was, what I did rather was I went in and I made my etchings or my placement prior to filming this section. So all I'm doing once I have made my etchings, by simply making those indentations by applying pressure on my candle, pushing down into my foam, I am simply going in with some hot glue, just a few beads on the bottom of those candles, and I am placing them into the foam. Once I have done that, all I'm going to do now is I am going to continue to place my flowers to close in the gap that is there. When I come back, I will return to show you how we're going to decorate the bottom part of our bowl, and then after that, of course, I will clean up, and then I will come back to show you what our finished project looks like. So now that we have created our floral arrangement and strung our garlands, we are now going to decorate the bottom of our centerpiece. And to do this, we are going to fill that bowl with some water gel beads. And of course, these look different from what I showed you in the introductory segment. And what it is when those beads come in their natural form, they come as small pellets. And what you have to do to get them to cure or to fill up with water like this, you have to soak them in water for about 2 to 3 hours for them to reach their full capacity. And so as you can see, I am placing my gel beads into my bowl, making sure not to cover up the center of that styrofoam, because what we're going to do is we're actually going to place some flowers there. But before we do, we're going to take some submersible LED LED lights. I'm using about 4 of them, but if you wanted more light coming through that bowl, you could use up to possibly 8 of them, and just putting those LED lights to illuminate those water gel beads. Once we have placed our LED lights into those water beads, it is simply a matter now of filling in the top of that styrofoam with flowers. And because the theme or the title of this centerpiece is Fire and Ice, the fire being the candles that we have placed on top of our candelabra, and the ice being represented by the white and blues, I have opted to use white flowers for this entire segment of our decoration or our centerpiece. So I'm just going to continue placing my flowers. I'm going to clean this up of any glue fronds, set the table, and then I'll be back to show you what our finished project looks like. Well, here you have it, my darlings, our Fire and Ice Candelabra that we created using mostly Dollar Tree products. Isn't she beautiful? Now, as you can see, what we're highlighting here are the 2 bowls that we glued one on top of the other, and the beautiful effect of ice those water gel beads give us sitting in that bowl and being illuminated by our submersible LED lights. In the midst of that ice, we have a bouquet of beautiful white roses, and then atop that, following all the way up our acrylic rods, we have the piece de resistance, our ice, represented by our blue flowers, all shades, all sizes, dotted with a few white roses, and topped with our beautiful tapered LED candles. My darlings, once again, I think we have nailed another project. I think I would have to say, however, my favorite part of this project would have to be the bed of white roses that is sitting in the middle of our pond of ice. And what those flowers do for this piece is just give it yet another dimension of fabulosity to add to the exquisiteness of this piece. My darlings, if you have found any value in this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, as well as leave me a comment in the comment section below. For example, you could tell me things like what event would or could you possibly use this for, or if you were to recreate this, what color flowers would you use, and based on your color choice, what would you name this centerpiece? I would love to hear from you. To my Danny's darlings, I just want to say to you guys, thank you for the love, the encouragement, the questions, the comments. Thank you for encouraging one another. Listen, I just love our fellow community of DIYers. You guys are the bomb.com. But to those of you who may not yet be a Danny's darling, if you are interested in subscribing to our channel today, kindly be sure to do that. As a matter of fact, we humbly encourage you to do so. And if you do decide to join our ever-growing community of DIYers, please be sure to click that notification bell to make sure that you are made aware when our videos have been published. Before I leave, I'm going to leave you with the motto to our channel, which is simply this: why buy when you can DIY? And so, my loves, until the next time we shall meet again, please, please, please take care of yourselves for me. Know that I love you all. Bye now.